Good morning, greetings friends, and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I'm your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I use nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your health and vitality and well-being and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body, you are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health challenge. That is why we are here every day in The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 32 years of practicing pharmacy, I have seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, skin diseases like acne, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds, recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure, because the human biological system is a healing system, it's a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis, and while some folks may call that a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, if you want to wean yourself off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, we are here for you. We welcome your phone calls at 844-236-6010, 844-236-6010. If you have questions about the longevity products, longevity business, health challenges you or a loved one may need help with, 844-236-6010 is our number. And if you have a comment or a success story, likewise, 844-236-6010 is our number on the Bright Side. If you want to purchase longevity products, go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You can order longevity products off the website. You can also click on the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. If you want to start a longevity business, you can also call 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470 for more information. And don't forget to take a look at our Truth Skin Health products at truthtreatments.com. Truthtreatments.com, everything your skin needs and nothing it doesn't in all of our Truth Treatment products. They're all up at truthtreatments.com. All right, welcome back to The Bright Side, friends. We've been talking about the really amazing crystal nature of the body. The body, as we say, as we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, is a macro crystal made up of micro crystals. It's crystals upon crystals upon crystals. We were talking about clay yesterday. I haven't forgotten that there's a lot more I want to say about clay. I haven't forgotten that that's our subject, but I just want to digress a little bit and talk about the body itself and how it's composed. The cells, and then the tissues, and then the structures, and then the organs, they're all crystals upon crystals upon crystals, which makes the body an amazing information field. And these crystals are the end result of the combination of solid material that is hanging in fluid. The solid material that's hanging in the fluid creates crystalline water, crystalline fluid. Quick digression. Molecules can fall into two major classes. Chemicals, molecules are either said to be water-loving or fat-loving. That's a major distinction. Everybody's heard oil and water don't mix. These are two classic poles or classic distinctions of all chemistry. All chemicals are either hydrophilic or lipophilic, or they can actually be a blend of both. But this is the two major ways that you can distinguish the characteristics of a molecule and what it's going to do is whether it dissolves in water, whether it doesn't, or whether it dissolves in water, or whether it dissolves in oil, whether it's oil soluble or whether it's water soluble, hydrophilic, lipophilic. Well, as it turns out, if you have a substance that's hydrophilic, that's water-loving, like salt is water-loving, sugar is water-loving. But some things that are water-loving don't dissolve in water, they hang in water. They still love the water, but they hang in it instead of dissolving in it. When a hydrophilic or water-loving substance is left in water, but it's too big, or it has a certain kind of structure that allows it to that keeps it from dissolving, that allows it to hang, it's called a colloid. colloid is a substance that's water-loving, but it doesn't dissolve in water. It hangs in the water. It suspends in the water, and it doesn't just sit there. It bounces around. It hangs, but it's kind of dynamic. And it's this dynamic suspension, this dynamic hanging that creates electrical charges and results in an electrically, energetically powerful system. Anywhere you have these bouncing colloids in fluid, you have electricity. The bounce plus the colloid plus the fluid gives it a certain electrical nature, and this electrical nature can be changed, and it's responsive to the environment. And that makes it intelligent. This is where the intelligence comes from. All these little colloids are bouncing around in the bloodstream. They're bouncing around in the fluids. They're bouncing around everywhere in the body. And by varying or changing the electrical charges, you can change the way these colloids hang. And the system can be responsive to the environment via this electrical manipulation. In the body, the colloids are usually proteins. In plants, the colloids are usually sugars. Polysaccharides. Fucoidin is a classic example of such a substance. In the body, it's usually proteins. Albumin is a classic example of a blobby protein that's just kind of hanging around, and as a colloid, it's hanging as a suspension, as a colloid, and albumin plays a major role in the movement of blood. In the movement, colloids always are going to play a major role in the movement and structure of bodily fluids. Remember, the fluids are structured. The blood is structured, and it's structured by a reaction between the wet part, the watery part, and the albumin and other colloids that are in the blood. The blood is the classic example of a colloidal liquid in the body, but pretty much all tissue fluids are going to be colloidal and crystalline. When you think colloidal, think crystalline and intelligent. In the skin, you got colloids that keep you from wrinkling. When we get older, our colloids break down. A couple days ago, we were talking about vegetable juices. Vegetables are colloids, and when you blend them up, the colloids break down, and that's why your vegetable juices separate. The same phenomena happens to us as we age. Our colloids break down. When our colloids break down, our water and our solid part and our watery part separate, just like the vegetable juice separates on your counter. That's what aging is about. It's about separation of the colloids. That, in a nutshell, is what happens when we age. Our colloids separate. Hello? Don't you think that you'd want to do everything you could do to support the colloids in your body? We can't even support the colloids in our body because nobody ever tells us about these things. This is why vegetable juices are so important. This is why electrical energy into the body is so important in the form of electrons. This is why we eat. We eat to provide the body with the electrical energy to maintain its colloidal nature. So colloids in the skin keep our faces from wrinkling, our bodies from wrinkling. Inside the body, colloids keep all our organs intact. They keep our blood flowing. This is so important. It's called the zeta potential. The relationship between the colloids and the movement in the blood generates an electrical charge called a zeta potential. And by the way, these days, very cutting-edge researchers believe that it's this colloidal fluid zeta potential electrical energy that is responsible for the movement of the blood throughout the body more than the heartbeat. Mainstream will tell you, orthodox medicine tells you, orthodox scientists tells you that the blood circles around the body because of the heartbeat, but it's kind of unlikely that one heartbeat could push blood through 50,000 miles of blood vessels, some microscopically small. So researchers now believe, because when you think about it, when researchers study it, there's like no way a heartbeat alone can generate enough force to push the blood through all of 50,000 miles, folks, of blood vessels. Can you imagine? One heartbeat pushing the blood through 50,000 miles against gravity on the way back up? That's crazy. That's very unlikely. So researchers now believe it's the colloids in the blood. As we age, the colloidal nature of our blood changes. As we age, the colloidal nature becomes disrupted, and we don't have as much electrical energy in our blood. This is why moving your body is so important. In addition to things like drinking vegetable juices and eating colloids, colloidal minerals. The key player in maintaining the colloidal nature, the colloidal nature of the body, the colloidal nature of the skin, the organs, especially the blood, is electrons. Electrons. That's why we got to be putting electrons into the body all the time. That's why we do. That's why we eat. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. back on the bright side. Got lines open, 844-236-6010, 844-236-6010. If you have questions about the longevity products, longevity business, our True Skin Health products, ingredients, formulations, something you may have heard about, read about in the news, or somebody told you about, you want clarification on, 844-236-6010 is our number on the bright side. If you want to purchase longevity products or sign up to join the Brightside Ben team, call 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470, or go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. All right, so we're talking about the colloidal nature of the body, colloids being substances that hang in water, hang in fluids, and by virtue of their hanging, they generate electrical charges. This is how the body is structured. This is how cells are structured. The key player in this colloidal nature is electrons. This is why we eat, to get electrons. This is why we want to eat minerals. Minerals are electron dense, especially colloidal minerals that come from plants. Plants have an ability to turn minerals into colloids. Minerals ordinarily are not colloids. They'll either dissolve. Some of them will dissolve. Not a lot of them, but some of them will dissolve. Others will just sink. But colloidal minerals, they hang. And that makes them very, very important, because the hanging of the colloidal minerals gives them electrical properties that ordinary minerals do not have. And we can get those electrical properties, or take advantage of those electrical properties, by eating or drinking colloidal minerals. That's why you want a steady input of electrons. The electronic nature of the body is why you want a steady input of electrons through foods, structured foods especially. Structured foods. It's not just veggies. It's all structured foods. Foods that have their structure remaining intact. Eggs are a classic example of a food that has its structure. Of course, you don't want to beat your eggs too much. If you beat your eggs too much, you'll destroy that structured nature. Dairy is a classic example of a colloidal food whose structure is disturbed by modern techniques, but through processing, homogenization, and for that matter, pasteurization, destroys the colloidal nature of milk, of dairy. This is one of the big problems with dairy. Raw milk, it's still coming from a cow. It's not a person, but it's close. Not, it's I don't even want to say it's close, but it has the same components. Once it's homogenized, that's when it becomes a really big problem. Homogenized dairy has this colloidal nature destroyed. You want a steady input of colloidal electrons in the body. You can get straight electrons too, just from barefooting. We talked about that in the past. That sounds kind of like a hippy-dippy, airy-fairy kind of way to take care of the body. But guess what? When you walk barefoot on the earth, you're sucking up electrons. Earth is a major, major fountain of electrons. It's spewing out all kinds of electrons. It's how everything lives on Earth, is because of electrons, and when we walk barefoot, we get those electrons. Sun exposure drives the production of electrons. Laying out in the sun, walking in the sun, without a sunscreen, without a sunblock. The sun hits your skin, photons from the sun hit your skin, it gets turned into electrical energy. You get supercharged, we become electronically charged by being in the sun. This is why everybody loves to be out in the sun. Now, you could be in the sun too much. That's too much electricity. The body can only handle so much electricity. That's the problem with being out in the sun. And this is where the sun gets the bad rap. It's because people stay out too much in the sun. That's too much electricity. You can't handle all that electricity. So you got to have just the right amount of sunshine. Walking barefoot in the sun is an amazing way to drive up the electronic nature, to amp up the electrons in the body. And the ocean is another great source of electrons. So walking barefoot in the sand in the sun, or even just laying out in the sun, laying on the beach, laying on the sand, your entire body, naked or close to it, your entire body sucks up the electrons from the sand. It gets supercharged with electrons from the sun, and it's immersed in a bath of electrons from all of the electrons that are coming out of the ocean. The technical name or one of the technical names for electrons, by the way, is negative ion. Somebody wrote me about a negative ion generator. I didn't know longevity has a negative ion generator, but negative ion generators are electron generators. Electrons are negative ions. Forest bathing. Yes, forest bathing is a thing. Laying out in the forest. In medicine, in Japan, it's actually part of their conventional medicine. It's called Shinrin-yoku. You get a prescription for Shinrin-yoku, for forest bathing. And it's considered, I don't know, actually, I don't know if it's mainstream, but it's popular medicine. I was just reading a book on it called Forest Bathing at the bookstore. I didn't buy it, but I'm just looking through it, and it's about how in Japan they use laying out in the forest as a alternative, or as a sort of medical treatment. I don't know if it's conventional or alternative. And of course, plant-derived colloidal minerals, those are great sources of electrons. Fresh veggie juices are great sources of electrons. There's lots of ways to get electrons. Whole foods, colloidal supplements, veggie juices, laying out in the sun, walking barefoot, forest bathing. They're all great ways to amp up the colloidal nature of the body through the input of electrons. The inside of a cell also needs electrons. It's not just the outside part of us. It's not just the extracellular space in the body that's colloidal. The inside of a cell is a microcosm. It's a miniature version of the entire body. The inside of a cell is a colloidal crystal. So the body itself is a colloidal crystal made up of cells, and then you zoom into a cell, and the cell itself is a colloidal crystal, and that means it needs electrons. And in fact, one of the best ways to drive electrons into the cells is with fulvic minerals. We have a new fulvic mineral supplement, by the way, up on at truthtreatments.com. The fulvic minerals, which are the end result of microbial degradation of rocks in combination with plant manipulation, these act like a source of electrons for cells. And this is why if you Google or do research on fulvic minerals, you'll see amazing studies and research that's done on fulvic mineral medicine for asthma, for immune problems, for skin problems. Pretty much every system in the body benefits from this source of electrons, particularly because of their effects on the cell itself. The inside of a cell is packed with colloidal substances in the form of small proteins and various substructures, various organelles. Organelles, that means little organs. Just like the body has organs, the cell has organs, organelles. The cell is a microcosm of the body. And like the body's a crystalline gel, the inside of a cell is a crystalline gel made up of hundreds of thousands of colloidal substances, all held in place by electrical charges. And the specific way these particles are held in place is called a phase. Just like when they say your kids are going through a phase, or somebody's going through a phase. A phase is a particular architectural design or structure of the colloidal particles and the fluid. And when that shifts, it's called a phase shift. And this shifting of this structure inside a cell, this gel nature inside a cell, plays a major role in how healthy we are or how not healthy we are. That's a very, very important aspect of the well-being and the healthy functioning of the body. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. We are back on The Bright Side with lines open for you at 844-236-6010. If you have questions about anything we're speaking about here today, or the longevity products, or a health challenge you need help with, or if you just have a comment or success story, 844-236-6010 is our number on The Bright Side. Check out brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. for the longevity products, longevity business opportunity, and news stories and blog posts and videos as well. I've been doing videos with my friend Jonty Collier now every few weeks or so. Our last one was on metformin and metabolic syndrome and diabetes. We've got all kinds of videos up there for the last few years. You can also just YouTube Pharmacist Ben. There's a whole bunch of great videos out there I've done over the last 8 years or so. And You can also purchase longevity products off brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com. All right, we'll get your calls here in just a moment. 844-236-6010 is our number from the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. Mushrooms may cut cognitive impairment risk. How do you like that? Eating your mushrooms may stave off Alzheimer's disease. Older adults who consume more than two standard portions of mushrooms per week, I don't know what that is, but whatever that is, 2 standard portions, maybe a handful of mushrooms or so, may have as much as a 50% risk of developing mild cognitive impairment. It's not Alzheimer's disease exactly, but the kind of impairment, cognitive impairment that most people will get a little as they get older, into their 80s and 90s. When I say older, I mean 80s or 90s, even 70s or 80s or 90s. From Medscape Medical News, we found that mushroom consumption is associated with reduced odds of having MCI among Chinese older adults living in Singapore, unquote. Lead author Lei Feng, MD, PhD, Associate Professor of the Yang Lin School of Medicine, said. Mushrooms are really interesting compounds. Mushrooms are classic colloidal compounds. They're actually so electrically potent that scientists are now researching using mushrooms to make electricity. I was just reading this today from the American Chemical Society. Forget solar panels. Researchers are eyeing mushrooms to generate electricity. They put bacteria on top of the mushroom, and the bacteria eat the mushroom, suck up the energy essentially, or assimilate the energy from the mushroom. They call it eating, but they're assimilating the energy from the mushroom, and they release photosynthetic light. They become photosynthetically active, and they release light. So they're actually trying to use the mushrooms to generate electrical energy through photosynthesis. Mushrooms are absolutely amazing, amazing entities. I don't know. They're a cross between an animal and a plant. If you ever walk into a room where they have live mushrooms, living mushrooms, growing mushrooms, you get their animal-like nature. They don't feel like plants. They feel like they're watching you. I'm not kidding. I walked into a room that this guy was growing all kinds of mushrooms. He was a mycologist, and his specialty was mushrooms. And so he had like a greenhouse filled with mushrooms. Actually, it was a dark house because you got to keep them dark. But it was a room that was filled with mushrooms. And when you walked into this room, it was like they were watching you. Like the mushrooms were conscious of you, and that was not just my imagination. Anyway, mushrooms are absolutely amazing, and they're super, super powerful for the immune system. They've been used to treat cancer for eons in China. All right, 844-236-6010. Let me get to one more here. This one's kind of interesting from the Environmental Working Group. Kale is a surprise on 2019's Dirty Dozen list. Kale is an absolutely amazing, amazing power food. Vegetables are in general pretty much powerful, but kale is like the most powerful of the powerful. And it's very unfortunate, but now kale is one of the most pesticide contaminated of our vegetables. Kale is technically a cruciferous vegetable. It's rich in sulfur. It's one of nature's best sources of sulfur. It's also rich in iodine compounds. Things like DIM. Actually, I'm not sure if they're iodine compounds, but substances that help stabilize the female reproductive system. I've got to check that out about the iodine, though. I'm looking it up here. No, it doesn't say that there's iodine. Scratch that. But there's selenium in there. There's phosphorus in there, magnesium. Green. The rich green color is magnesium. It's also carotenoids. That helps with the color. There's things like detoxification elements in kale. It's just one of nature's most powerful foods. But now, unfortunately, it is also one of nature's most contaminated foods because of pesticides. Guess what the number one Dirty Dozen form of produce? Number one produce on the Dirty Dozen list from the Environmental Working Group. Number 1, strawberries. Number 2, spinach. And number 3, kale. Number 4, nectarines. Number 5, apples. Number 6, grapes. Number 7, peaches. Number 8, cherries. Number 9, pears. Number 10, tomatoes. Number 11, celery. And number 12, potatoes. And it's no accident that these are the ones everybody's eating. It's the ones that got the most pesticides on them. Remember, the more Roundup you use, the more pesticides you're going to need. Because the more the more protected a plant is artificially, the less of its own natural pesticide chemicals it will make, so the more artificial pesticides you have to use. And because nutritional value is tied into the plant's ability to make natural pesticides, many phytonutrients are natural pesticides. Not only is our food toxic, is our kale toxic and our produce toxic, but it's also got less nutritional value on top of everything else. It's crazy. All right. I'm going to do one more and then we'll get your calls. 844-236-6010. High potency cannabis tied to 50% of new psychosis cases. Daily use of cannabis, marijuana that is, particularly high potency cannabis, is associated with higher rates of psychosis. Well, anybody who's smoked pot can tell you that's a possibility. Getting stoned, getting high is like a mild form of psychosis, depending on how high you get, I suppose. But anyway, these days marijuana is super, super, super powerful stuff. In the old days, you were lucky to get 5% psychoactive substances if you were buying pot. These days, you can get 35, 40% psychoactive substances in marijuana. That's pretty intense. And in a lot of places, you can just walk off the street and get it. Now, I'm not saying that we should be legalizing or not legalizing or regulating or not regulating. I don't think it's the government's business what people want to smoke, but it is something that you want to pay attention to, especially if you're already if you already have mental illness. That's really when high potency cannabis can be a big problem. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. Let's go to the phones and say good morning to our friend and regular caller, Barry. What's up, Barry, New Orleans? If it weren't for you, it would just be me pontificating. So thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
All right. Yes. And first, I'd like to say, your analysis of things just really blows me away. I mean, I realize the little I thought I know, I know much little, of that after listening to this program. So just. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, my questions. I want to ask. First of all, my friend that has this aneurysm, she was told by a guy here, a herbalist here, that fasting could also solve this.
Fasting can what? Hey, Barry, you're cutting out. I'm not hearing you. I'm going to put you on hold. Once you call me back, I'll get you right up. I think we got a bad connection there, Barry. Call me right back, all right? We're going to take a break, and then if you call me back, we'll get you up when we come back from our break. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll return right after this. We are back on The Bright Side. 844-236-6010 is our number. Let's see if we got a better connection here with our friend Barry. Barry?
Yes.
Hey, before you get going, what is it that you do out there in New Orleans? Are you working or just study all day? Because you know a lot of stuff, that's for sure.
Well, I basically, no, I'm not working right now. I just like to just read and, and...
Well, you're a smart man. It takes one to know one, Barry.
Yeah, well, thank you. But I realize how little I know.
That's even smarter. That's an even smarter thing to say. That's what Socrates said. He said, "All I know is I know nothing." The more you know, the less you realize you know. That's how it goes. So you're a smart man to say that and to understand that. So what's going on? How can we help you?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, my friend that has the aneurysm, she was told by a guy, I don't really know anything about the guy, but I got the impression the guy was good, that fasting could help with this aneurysm, really solve it.
I don't know if it'll solve it, but it'll definitely help. The aneurysm is caused by weakness, and to the extent that there's poisons in the body, fasting will help. Fasting is the best detox you can do. So it's always a good idea to fast. I'm not sure about how it would. I don't know. It won't hurt, that's for sure. But I would be focusing at this, if she's going to fast, which I highly recommend. I would focus also on building the connective tissue. The aneurysm is caused by weakness in the connective tissue, at least partially caused by that. So everything we talked about yesterday, I think it was when we talked, vitamin C, bone broth protein, high hyaluronic acid supplements, veggie juices, polysaccharides, glucosamine. That's not a polysaccharide, but glucosamine, fucoidan, anything for arthritis. An aneurysm is basically arthritis of the blood vessels. It's when the blood vessels start to break down the way the joints break down when you have arthritis. So the degenerative process is generic in the sense that it doesn't really matter where it's happening as much as it matters that it is happening. The body is breaking down, and arthritis is like a classic example of that, but arthritis happens everywhere, except it's not in the arthur. Arthur means joints. It's in the vascular, or it's in the brain, or it's in the bone, or it's in any of the tissue of the body, any of the connective tissue in the body when it breaks down, including the blood, which we'll talk about. Blood is connective tissue, liquid connective tissue, and the blood breaks down, and when the blood breaks down, we get sick. So the vessels, the blood, the bones, they all break down in this generic way, and so you got to start building it up with all of the connective tissue building and body building substances that we talk about on the program all the time, although I have to say fasting is definitely not a bad idea. Does that help you, Barry? Anything else?
Yes. I want to ask you, you have me rethinking, because I've been a vegan, and I'd like to hear, once more, maybe why you think a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet is not the best diet. Because
it's just missing key elements that are required for the body. Well, for example, just one little example. There's an amino acid called taurine, Taurine. So to me, taurine is now you can make taurine, but still actually I don't know if you can. Well, you can make taurine. It's not an essential amino acid, but you're going to be depriving yourself of it if you don't put it in the body. Taurine is only found in animal foods. Taurine, very important for the brain, very important for the heart, very important for eyesight, very important for blood cells, very important for skin. And you can make it, but it's not going to be, you're not going to have the maximum amount of it. The body's designed to get taurine from food. Now, I don't like that we eat animals. I mean, it's problematic to me a little bit because I love animals. I don't necessarily want to eat them. But the fact of the matter is that's how we grew up. We grew up eating animals. Human beings grew up eating animals. That's just how it is. Today, animal eating is not such a great idea because of how crapped up our environment is. Our environment, the water, the fish are swimming in, actually, I'm reading here, taurine is actually conditionally essential. It's not essential, but it's conditionally essential, meaning it's a good idea to get in your food. I don't like eating animals, but the fact is we grew up that way. The problem isn't necessarily eating the animals. It's the grass that the animals are eating that end up being in our system. We're eating the poison in the grass, the poison in the water. We're eating the poison that's given to the animals. Not like we're out there foraging and hunting, the way our primitive ancestors did. So meat and fish and all these foods that have such nutritional value are very. It's problematic. We'll leave it at that. And then there's the philosophical idea of eating conscious beings. I mean, I can definitely see why that would be a problem. But the fact is, we grew up that way. We're supposed to be eating. We're supposed to be eating other living beings. And I didn't make up the food chain, so don't shoot the messenger on that one. The fact is that we do have a problem now, and that's really where vegetarians and vegans can make a point. Nonetheless, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, guess what you're going to be eating lots of, Barry? Beans, legumes, grains. You don't think they're going to be saturated with Roundup and pesticides? People think that, I'm eating vegetables, so that's all good food, and meat is bad food. Well, you got grains have gluten in them and other natural toxins, not to mention the artificial toxins that are in grains. So I'm not sure what is the logic to eating vegetarian, really, when you think about it. Vegetables are just as toxic as the meat, unless you want to go philosophical. What's the logic, Barry? Why would you want to be a vegan? Let me ask you this. Why do you think it's better to be a vegan or a vegetarian?
From my little exposure, I always.
But what's the logic? What's the rationale?
it was a healthier diet.
What's the rationale for making it a healthier diet? Is what I'm saying. Yes, I know I'm hearing you say it's a healthier diet. I hear lots of people say that. But what's the rationale that it's a healthier diet? Why is it that grains, which contain gluten and other complicated molecules that are hard for the body to digest, or legumes, which contain lectins, why are they better than meat, which is non-allergenic, and I'm not defending meat. I'm just saying I want you to be a critical thinker here. What is the logic to saying that plant food is better than animal food?
Okay, yeah, the meat, like I said, I may be wrong, but from what
I'm not trying to attack you. I want to know what's the logic. Is there a reason?
Right. I always read that it was a healthier diet. The meat has.
See, there's no reason though. I don't hear any reasoning. I hear that you read it, but I don't know what the reason is. If somebody out there knows the reason, help me. I'm not saying this like I know. Just I can't see a reason. If you tell me that meat is more toxic than than veggies, I'll tell you there's lectins in veggies and they're not in meat. I'll tell you there's a problem with lectins. So it can't be that. You say, well, animals are fed hormones and antibiotics. Well, that's true, but so plants have Roundup. You know what I'm saying? So I have a hard time understanding the logic. However, you could tell me, well, meat concentrates the poison, and that, I guess you could make a case for that. But the bottom line is you're not going to get away from poison in our 21st century crapped up environment. That's just how the world is. And meat, when it comes to animal foods, I won't say meat, but animal foods, leaving aside the philosophical problem of eating conscious beings, it just has things in it that aren't in plants that are important for health. So I'm just telling you logically as a nutritionist. Philosophy aside, because I do understand that part. That makes sense to me. All right, Barry. Anything else? Yeah,
well, a lot of people, especially like the Seventh-day Adventists, point to the fact, that in the Bible that God first intended man to be vegetarian.
Well, did you ever hear Cain and Abel?
Yeah.
Do you know the story of Cain and Abel? Who was the bad guy in Cain and Abel?
Right, yeah, that Cain slew Abel, yes.
Who was the bad guy? Was it Cain or was it Abel?
It was Cain.
And who was the one who ate meat and who was the vegetarian?
You
should know that, because the bad guy was the guy who ate the vegetables, or who farmed the vegetables and the produce. The good guy was the butcher, the guy who ate the meat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in the Bible actually, there's an allegory there about the problems with vegetables. I'm not saying, I'm just answering your Seventh-day Adventist issue. God in the Bible intended us to eat meat. In fact, God loves meat. God wants meat sacrifices. Right?
I'd have to know the Bible.
I think in the Old Testament, God was definitely a meat eater in the Old Testament. I don't know if he was eating it, but he definitely wanted us to sacrifice it. Right?
Well, how do you explain, like in Genesis, first chapter, 29 verse, where God, starts man out and told him he gave him the herbs of the field and the grass is like this, and this is one of the key scriptures that.
Barry, we're out of time, buddy. I want to hear what you have to say. You always have good things to say, but we're just out of time. So right. Good food for thought, no pun intended. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side, friends. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Check out our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com for the longevity products. And we will talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. Bye for now.